Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Typhoon Emong has weakened into a severe tropical storm according to Pag-asa. Emong is expected to exit the Philippine area of responsibility on Saturday.
Some parts of Bulacan are now under state of calamity due to widespread flooding caused by monsoon rains.
Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla sees no legal violation in the E-Ayuda program of Kalumpit, Bulacan.
The charity boxing match between PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre III and Davao City Acting Mayor Baste Duterte is now uncertain. This is after Duterte demanded all officials, including President Bongbong Marcos, to undergo a hair follicle drug test.
First in the news, Emong weakens into a severe tropical storm as it traverses the Cordillera region. Let's get more updates from Pag-asa weather specialist Benison Estareja. Benison, thank you again for joining us.
Yes, good morning, Sir Angelo and Ms. Angela.
Alright, Benison, saan huling nakita si Emong?
Yes, yung latest location po natin according to our latest bulletin, as of 7 in the morning ay nasa vicinity po ito ng bayan ng San Isidro sa Abra. May taglay na hangin na 100 kilometers per hour, so from typhoon intensity simula po kagabi ay humina ito bilang isang severe tropical storm ngayon lamang pong umaga. At merong gustiness pa rin na hanggang 165 kilometers per hour, kumikilos north-northeastward at bumibilis sa ngayon at sa 25 kilometers per hour.
Go ahead. Nakita namin sa ibang mga report, Benison, yung La Union is greatly hit by Typhoon Emong. Hanggang kailan mararanasan ng ating mga kababayan doon sa area na yon ang hagupit nitong si Emong?
Throughout this morning po, we're expecting na tatawid itong si Bagyong Emong dito sa malaking bahagi po ng Northern Luzon, particularly sa may northern portions of Ilocos Region, Cordillera Region, and Cagayan. And then possible po pagsapit ng tanghali hanggang hapon ay nasa may extreme northern Luzon po ito. And from mamayang hapon hanggang bukas ay nasa may northern portion po ito ng Philippine Sea hanggang sa makalabas po ng ating area of responsibility bukas ng tanghali or hapon.
Benison, given na si Emong nag-downgrade into a severe tropical storm, tama ba yun? Ano ngayon ang magiging epekto niya sa habagat, sa Central Luzon, tsaka sa Metro Manila?
Yes, naging malaking factor po kasi yung pag-landfall niya dito sa mga bulubundukin ng Ilocos Region and Cordillera Region, kaya po siya humina, and we're expecting pa rin na patuloy itong unti-unting hihina habang binabagtas po itong extreme northern Luzon. Nonetheless, makakaasa pa rin po ng hanging habagat ang malaking bahagi po ng Central and Southern Luzon, and that includes Metro Manila. Within the next 24 hours, meron pa rin po tayong pabugso-bugsong malalakas na ulan, lalo na dito sa may areas po ng Zambales, Bataan, Tarlac, Pampanga, down to Metro Manila, then halos buong Calabarzon and Mimaropa. Posible pa rin po ang mga heavy rainfall warnings natin.
Benison, bagaman itong si Typhoon Dante naman, I believe ay nakalabasan ng Philippine Air Responsibility. Meron pa rin ba siyang epekto sa ating bansa ngayon?
Sa ngayon po, meron tayong indirect effect coming from Dante, itong si dating bagyong Dante po, na may international name na Francisco, papunta po siyang East China Sea. And so far, yung interaction niya rin with bagyong Emong is humihina na rin po, dahil hindi na ito nagpapakita ng signs na lalakas pa ito. At yung indirect effect na tinutukoy natin, yung southwest monsoon pa rin or habagat.
Okay.
Benison, parang the last time we spoke, may nabanggit na may tinitignan kayong weather system possible next week. Ano ba ang tatlo, no? Ano ba yung weather systems na ito, Benison?
Yes, yung ikatlong bagyo na ating minomonitor is si tropical storm po with international name na Prosa. Nandito po siya sa may Pacific Ocean, sa labas ng ating area of responsibility, and almost 2,000 kilometers po east of Southern Luzon. We're seeing na itong si bagyong Prosa ay paakyat po going northward towards the northern Pacific Ocean. So wala siyang magiging direct effect or landfall scenarios, at mababa rin yung chance or napakaliit ang chance na ito magpapasok pa ng ating PAR. But then, for next week, malaking factor po ito para magpa-ibayo or maghatak pa rin ng hanging habagat dito sa may western section po of Luzon.
So this next few days, Benison, ano magiging rain forecast natin in terms of yung mga rainfall warning?
Definitely po by tomorrow, kung saan nasa may hilaga na ng Batanes ang bagyong Emong at unti-unting humihina, mababawasan na rin po yung epekto ng hanging habagat may kalakasan pa rin yung ulan somewhere dito sa may Ilocos region and Zambales, Bataan areas. May mga paminsan-minsan pa rin pong mga pag-ulan na malalakas in other parts of Luzon, and that includes Metro Manila over this weekend. And then by next week, aasahan pa rin natin yung epekto ng habagat na mas kakaunti yung mararanasan ng mga pag-ulan. More on mga light to moderate rains po.
Okay. Alright, Benison, para lang mas maintindihan ng ating mga kapatid, meron na ba tayong opisyal na datos doon sa amount ng rainfall na naranasan natin simula nung dumating dito yung Typhoon Crising, Habagat, Emong, and Dante? Ano yung katumbas na tubig ulan na kanilang kumbaga ibinuga dito sa Pilipinas pang ilang araw?
Wala po tayong specific datos, no? Pero yung base po...
Benison?
Ayan.
Okay,
go ahead.
Ayan po. Yan po. So far po, wala po tayong exact na official data, no? But for the last 6 days po, simula nung pumasok itong si Bagyong Crising, ay nagtala po tayo ng mga pag-ulan in many areas pa rin sa may Zambales, sa may Bataan, dito sa Metro Manila, and then some parts of Southern Luzon pa na nagkaroon tayo ng mga rainfall na if not close dun sa ating monthly normal, ay humigit. Kabilang na nga dyan yung sa may Sangli Point sa Cavite, kung saan hinigitan pa po ng 3 to 4 times yung ating monthly normal. Kaya naging malaking factor po dyan yung enhanced habagat. Kaya i-check pa rin po natin, no, kasi patuloy pa rin po yung habagat.
Yes.
Hanggang sa magkaroon po tayo ng final data over the end of July.
Ito, Benison, katanungan ng marami. 6 days na tayo nakakaranas na tuloy-tuloy halos ng pag-ulan. Next week, since you're also monitoring a weather system or disturbance, tuloy-tuloy pa ba itong pag-ulan or kailan pa mag-i-improve ang weather? In other words, kailan titigil ang ulan?
Kung yung pagtigil po ng ulan ng ating asahan, we're not gonna expect it anytime, no? Dahil meron po tayong habagat pa rin. Nasa actually kalagitnaan na po tayo ng peak ng habagat. Kaya we're expecting pa rin na mayroong mga light to moderate rains. So far, yung enhancement magiging mababa na po dahil wala na tayong malapit na bagyo sa ating kalupaan. Pero yung western sides of Luzon, particularly Ilocos region, Cordillera, Zambales, Bataan, down to Mindoro, dyan yung mga pinaka-frequent ng ulan by next week. And then for Metro Manila, may paminsan-minsan mga light to moderate rains, ganyan din yung mga nearby areas sa Central Luzon and Calabarzon.
Alright, finally, siguro recap na lang kung uulanin ba yung SONA sa Lunes?
For Monday naman po, we're expecting na mostly cloudy skies ang Metro Manila dahil pa rin yan sa southwest monsoon. And at some point, nagkakaroon pa rin tayo ng mga pag-ulan. Hindi po siya tuloy-tuloy. Hindi siya katulad nitong mga nagdaang mga pag-ulan po na naranasan natin. At kung magkakaroon naman ng mga pag-ulan, mga light to moderate rains, sa hapon possible din yung mga thunderstorms.
Alright, thank you for that update. Pag-asa Weather Specialist, Benison Estareja. Tuloy-tuloy daw. Oo, not anytime soon daw titigil ang ulan.
Oo, kasi ang habagat pa lang hanggang end of September yan. Meanwhile, provinces across northern Luzon are bracing for the possible impact of severe tropical storm Emong, with some areas already under a state of calamity due to heavy monsoon rains. Here's the report.
Typhoon Emong continues to threaten northern Luzon, placing parts of Ilocos Sur, La Union, and Pangasinan under signal number 4. In Pangasinan, where Emong made landfall Thursday night, nearly 600,000 individuals, or more than 200,000 families, have been forced to evacuate. 17 towns and cities are already flooded, and local officials warn the worst may not be over.
Magkakasunod, Bagyong Crising, Habagat, Bagyong Dante, ngayon naman Bagyong Emong. So, dahil doon, tuloy-tuloy ang pag-ulan, tapos yung dumadali pa doon yung mga upland rainwater, problema talaga. Catch basin kasi ang Pangasinan.
In La Union, nearly 3 weeks of flooding have prompted the town of Bawang to declare a state of calamity. This allows the local government to access emergency funds and prevent price surges on goods. Many residents are anxious about the effects of the typhoon, including Jerry Padua, whose wife is a dialysis patient.
Pagka nag-abiso ng barangay, talagang sunod ka. Lalo na nandito tayo sa tabing dagat.
In Ilocos Sur, more than 10,000 residents have been evacuated as communities brace for the threat of a storm surge. In Barangay Mindoro, Vigan, over 300 residents, mostly those living near rivers and coastal areas, were moved early to safety.
Kinakabahan talaga, sir, kasi ang liit-liit naman ng bahay namin. Saan kami matutulog? Wala na.
Malapit na kami sa dagat po, malapit pa kami sa ilog. Kaya po pag nag-storm surge, kami po yung naunang na maapektuhan po.
Residents are also worried about the possible strong winds brought by the typhoon. According to Ron Arquilada, head of Ilocos Sur PDRRMO, the province lacks natural wind barriers like Sierra Madre or Cordillera mountain ranges.
Talagang ibibrace namin yung impact ng hangin kasi gagaling siya sa dagat na wala na ngayon yung Sierra Madre, Cordilleras na tumutulong para i-lessen yung impact ng hangin ngayon. Ang bagyo manggagaling sa west. Sanay na kasi kami sa bagyo nanggagaling sa east.
Meanwhile, the entire province of Pampanga is also under a state of calamity due to widespread flooding. In Lubao, a section of the Santa Rita Dique is slowly collapsing, putting nearby homes at risk of falling into the river.
Hindi lang natapos yan kasi that was the time na pasumpong-sumpong na yung pagulan.
In Bacolor, much of Barangay Tinajero is submerged. The local government says it's now working on a long-term solution to a flooding problem that's persisted for decades.
Sabi ko mag-diking system nila doon sa side namin para mabisa naman yung baha sa Tinajero.
And in Macabebe, the district hospital has been forced to shut down due to rising waters.
Now we're saying based on all these reports, itong mga huling bagyong si Emong at Krising, more on volume of rain ang binagsak naman sa Pilipinas. Before kasi, prior to us accepting climate change, karamihan hangin ng binabantayan natin. Ngayon, you see it's both. Yeah. You're worrying about wind, you're also worrying about volume of rain.
Amount of rainfall.
Plus, you're also worried about kung paano magkukope ang land natin sa baha.
Yes, speaking of that, kasi ang dami ngayon yung mga nagla-landslide na sa iba't ibang parts of our country, and yung dike sa Bulacan, most especially, nagkaroon ng crack, so hindi natin alam how are we going to survive this dahil ang dami ng tulad na banggit natin na hindi na kinakaya ng lupa natin ngayon dahil talagang walang tigil yung ulan, ilang araw
dito
tayo, ang lalakas pa.
Dito tayo babalik sa 1970, 65 to 70, where they're saying, ang dami nagsasabing architect long time ago, ang pangit ng planning. We're talking about Metro Manila per se. Ang pangit ng planning is because lowland areas, mga cities na tinayo, catch basin ka. Nasa taas ka naman, supposedly you're safe from flood, pero saturation ng lupa naman kalaban mo, erosion, tsaka landslide. So parang hindi na pag-isipan mabuti noon kung paano iso-zone ang at least when we're talking about Metro Manila.
Sabi nga ni Mahar Lagmay, sinasabi niya recently dun sa mga report na meron talaga mga streets ngayon, may mga kalsada na kalsada ngayon pero dapat waterways yun. Tulad na lamang nung nakita natin grabing baha sa may Commonwealth Avenue. Diba? Sabi niya pala, dating waterway yun na ngayon ginawang kalsada. So talagang ang tendency nito, magbabaha tayo dahil yung mga supposedly na mga dadaanan ng mga tubig ay nagbabarahan
You have to remember, Quezon City, may dalawang river dyan. There's the Marikina River. You also have, tatlo pala, you have also yung Tumana River and you have the Tulyahan River and yung creeks niya na dumadaan sa ilalim ng mga villages and barangay. So talagang hindi talaga pang city area tong terrain natin.
Also looking at Laguna de Bay kasi overflowing na rin yung
Tambakan
water
kasi
doon.
ang Laguna de Bay galing dito kawawa naman sila.
Yung mga low-lying areas doon, yung mga residente within the area. So syempre nangangamba na sila dahil doon nga sa sitwasyon doon sa area nila dahil sunod-sunod talaga yung mga pag-ulan.
Alright, several areas in Luzon have declared a state of calamity following damage from the southwest monsoon and recent cyclones. Among them is Valenzuela, where 26 evacuation centers are housing around 440 families. In Caloocan, the City Council made a declaration after 4 weather systems triggered severe rainfall and widespread flooding across 46 barangays. Malabon is now under a state of calamity as well. The move, recommended by the city's Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, aims to assist affected residents and repair damaged infrastructure, including the navigational gate of the Malabon-Navotas River. In San Mateo, Rizal, personally visited by President Bongbong Marcos yesterday, more than 3,800 families or over 14,000 individuals have been affected by floodwater.
Huwag na nating isipin na baka magkabagyo. Huwag tayo mag-isip na gano'n. Tayo kasi nung lumaki tayo, very maliwanag na maliwanag kung kailan ang typhoon season, maliwanag na maliwanag kung saan nagbabaha. Ngayon, hindi na gano'n. Kaya nagbago lahat. And we have to see na pag huwag na natin sasabihin baka magkabagyo, paano na pagdating ng bagyo dahil darating at darating yan. That is the fact of climate change. Kailangan na natin mag-isip tungkol sa adaptation. What do we have to do when it comes again? Because it will come again.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Let's now head over again to Bulacan to check the situation on the ground. We have mobile journal Arles de los Santos reporting live in Kalumpit. Arles, tell us what's happening there.
Magandang umaga, Angela at Diego. Nandito nga tayo ngayon sa Kalumpit, Bulacan, no? Partikular na dito sa barangay ng San Miguel. Katabi lamang nito yung barangay May Sulaw, kung saan nga ay mula hanggang Bewang hanggang Alampas Tao na, no? Ang baha na nararanasan dito. Kaya nakikita ninyo ang aking gamit ngayon para makalipat-lipat sa mga lugar dito ay bangka na. Yes. Ayan, makikita ninyo na talagang nagsasagwa na yung mga tao dito para makalipat ng mga lugar. Ang option, syempre, ay lumusong dito sa malalim na baha na ito. Ang isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit ganito dito, Angela at Diego, no, ay kalapit ito mismo ng Pampanga River, kung saan kapag umaapaw ang river na ito ay umaabot na sa mga komunidad dito ang baha. Kaya naman kung makikita ninyo yung mga bahay dito, ayan, no, sa ating paligid ay talagang halos aabot na sa kanilang mga kisame. At ang ilan na may mga mabababang pundasyon ay talagang hanggang malapit na sa kanilang bubong ang mga baha dito. Ang ilang mga residente ay kanya-kanyang diskarte na para lamang makatawid sa kanilang pang-araw-araw. Yung iba ay naghahatira na lamang ng mga pagkain, yung iba naman ay ayaw pumunta sa mga evacuation center dahil nga syempre ang kanilang pangamba sa kanilang mga gamit. At actually, Angela at Diego, no, kahapon ay may naitala na mag-asawang senior citizen na namatay matapos makatapak ng live wire sa kanilang lugar dito sa Kalumpit, Bulacan. Actually, Diego?
No, go ahead.
Dito, Diego, no, kapag tinignan natin yung mga kapaligiran dito, no, yung paligid rather, yung mga bahay dito ay talagang lubog na at yung mga kanilang mga alagang manok ay talagang kanilang diskarte na, mga nakataas. Ayan, katulad na lamang nila ate na talagang nasa bubong na. May mga gripo sila sa taas ng kanilang mga bahay.
Arles, given na ganito kataas ang tubig at not all of them want to be in the evacuation centers, no? Naabutan ba sila ng food packs, aid, or any form of assistance?
Actually, isa yun sa mga problema dito, Diego, dahil ayon sa ating mga nakausap na otoridad, Lunes pa daw yung ilan nilang naaalala na ibinigay na food packs sa kanila, no? At yung iba naman ay Wednesday pa. Pero ayon sa mga iba pang residente, yung kanilang barangay lamang daw ang nakapagbibigay sa kanila ng mga food assistance. Yung kanilang LGU daw ay medyo mabagal ang tugon, ganun nila itong tawagin, dahil nga loob-looban pa itong mga barangay dito at talagang kung papasukin mahaba, ilang kilometro na mga kabahayan ang baha dito.
Arles, sa pag-iikot mo, other parts ba of Kalumpit, ganyan din ang itsura or ganyan din ang kataas ng floodwater?
Actually, Diego, 29 out of 29 barangays ng Kalumpit ang lubog sa baha ngayon. Ayan ang kinumpirma mula alas 8 ng umaga ng kanilang mayor dito, no? Actually, ito, pwede tayong pumasok dito sa isang bahay dito dahil si nanay dito ay ayaw talagang iwan ang kanyang tahanan dyan dahil kasama niya din dyan ang kanyang mga kapatid na senior citizen na rin. Diego?
Arles, meron ka bang datos kung ilan ngayon ang mga pamilyang nasa evacuation centers?
Ang nasa evacuation center ngayon, Angela, ay nasa ilang libo din, no? Pero yung mga apektadong pamilya ay nasa 40,000 mahigit. O sa bilang ng mga individual ay nasa 146,000 yan. At inaasahan natin na magpapatuloy yan dahil hindi pa nila sigurado kung kailan nga huhupa ang baha dito dahil isa pang kanilang tatakot ay yung biglang pagtaas ng high tide. Kaya daw may ilang bahagi dito na talagang halos buong taon ay baha sa kanilang lugar.
Lastly, Arles, tanong ko lang yung sitwasyon ng ng supply ng kuryente at tubig. Kumusta naman?
Meron namang supply ng kuryente dito, Angela. No? Actually, yung ibang mga residente dahil nga sa baha, ay nagdesisyon na napatayin ng switcher ng kanilang mga tahanan. Yung iba naman, pagdating naman sa tubig, normal naman daw, mayroon namang nakukuha. Pero ang kanilang pinakamalaking challenge talaga, Angela, yung pagbili ng pagkain. Kasi katulad na lamang ng eskinita na ito, no, kung nasan tayo, may mga tindahan na mangilan-ngilan. Pero yung mga bahay kasi hanggang doon sa kabilang bahagi pa nitong street na ito ay marami pa rin at hindi lahat ay mayroong bangka. Kaya siguro daw kung magbibigay man ng tulong ang kanilang lokal na pamahalaan ay hindi lamang basta pagkain kundi siguro mode of transportation na din gaya ng mga bangka para makapunta sila mula sa isang lugar papunta sa iba pa.
Alright, maraming salamat. Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos reporting live in Kalumpit, Bulacan.
Now at this point, let's talk to Rueli Rapsing, head of Cagayan PDRRMO, for the latest in the province. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Ms. Angela and Sir Diego.
All right, sir. What areas are still experiencing, if meron, heavy rain sa area po ng Cagayan dahil po sa Emong?
Well, almost of the province, all municipalities of the province are experiencing rain. Somehow, dito sa southern portion of the province, are light to moderate lang. Heavy rainfall naman, especially yung mga nakataas ng signal number 2, yung municipality ng Rizal, Santa Proxedes, and Claveria. Yung neighboring municipalities naman ito, occasional heavy rain, but light to moderate yung ibang municipality.
Sir, meron na po ba tayong datos kung ilan po yung mga pamilya or individual na apektado po ng bagyo at kung sila po ay nasa evacuation centers na?
Yes, there are municipalities or MDRMOs that reported to us of preemptive evacuation like Santa Proxedes, Claveria, Lasam, and Peña Blanca. And a total of 103 individuals nasa evacuation.
Okay. So, ngayon po ba, may mga, ilan pa po, ano-ano pa po yung mga kalsada natin na impassable as of this time?
All are possible po. Roads and bridges, all are possible except yung mga nasira po ni Typhoon Marce last year sa Pamplona. Although there are meron ng mga footbridge na nilagay doon. But pero sa ngayon hindi pa possible for yung sa part po ng Pamplona.
Yes, sir. Given that, based sa conversation namin sa Pag-asa, next week may isa pang bagyong minamataan, would you recommend sa mga nasa evacuation center na pwede munang umuwi pag nag-clear ito sa weekend or tuloy-tuloy muna magstay sa evacuation center?
Well, those na nakataas ng signal number 2 po, sir, ang standard operations procedures natin dyan, not right after, sir, pinakahupa natin yung lupa so that there won't be any threat for rain-induced landslide. That's right. Especially kung saturated na yung within mountainous area po yung in-evacuate po natin.
Okay, meron po ba tayong reported casualties, injured at saka mga missing persons?
Zero casualty po kami kay Tropical Storm Crising. Itong kay Dante, zero casualty din po. And hopefully itong kay Emong, pagtawid niya dito sa province namin, zero casualty pa rin.
Meron din po ba tayong datos kung magkano po ang damage na idinulot po na ito sa Cagayan?
As to damage to agriculture, umabot po kami ng 30.
Sir, pakiulit po, nawala po eh. Magkano po?
Sa time ni Tropical Storm Crising, ang agriculture sector po natin nag-report ng 30 million.
30 million.
As for infrastructure, wala pong reported yung ating DPWH The same with the provincial engineering office natin. Wala silang reported damage to infrastructure. The same on the fisheries and livestock. Wala pong reported damage nung time ni Kersi. The same with Dante. And now hopefully ma-maintain po natin yan itong pagtawid ni Emong sa amin.
Sir, ano yung currently mga challenges pa na hinaharap ng opisina nyo with regards to securing of course yung safety ng mga kababayan natin?
Well, so far, sir, ang pinaka-challenge namin is the advisory, sir. Although, in-organize na natin hanggang Purok level,
yes,
barangay, we have Purok Disaster Brigade, and we also have community emergency responders. And sa panahon ni Governor General Edgar Aglipay, there are specific areas of uniform personnel, uniform assisting agencies like the 10 MBLT Marines, lahat ng coastal municipalities sa kanila. Lahat ng mga along the river para sa Philippine Coast Guard po natin. Lahat ng Philippine Army natin, all infantry brigades are assigned sa mga mountainous areas. Yung PNP and BFP natin are advised to check in sa lahat ng mga towns na naka-designate sa kanila.
Okay.
Alright, we will continue to get in touch with you regarding this matter. For the meantime, mag-iingat po kayo. Maraming salamat. Roeli Rapsing, Head of Cagayan PDRRMO.
Thank you po, sir.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government sees no legal violation in Kalumpit, Bulacan's e-Ayuda program, but warned it could be prone to abuse. Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla acknowledged the initiative's good intent, but discouraged other LGUs from adopting similar methods without proper safeguards. He emphasized the need for a complete resident database to prevent aid from reaching non-constituents. Kalumpit Mayor Lem Faustino later clarified that all 250 residents who submitted entries within the set period would receive aid, removing the raffle element from the process.
Now, in other news, acting Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte has set conditions before he could meet PNP Chief Nicolas Torre III in the ring. Here's the report.
PNP Chief Police General Nicolas Torre III hit the ground running, training at the boxing gym of the PNP Sports Center in Camp Crame. 6 rounds of technique, footwork, and strategy. Why, you ask? Because he accepted the challenge of a boxing match from acting Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte. This isn't your typical showdown. They're calling it a boxing match for a cause for flood victims.
Mahina na nga ako eh. I really need exercise kasi medyo puro lang jogging ang ating ginagawa. Medyo hindi na masyadong ginagamitan ng talent yun eh. Takbo lang ng takbo eh.
On the other side, Baste, who issued the challenge, says he's definitely game. But suddenly, he set a condition and even dragged President Bongbong Marcos into it.
Pakiusapan mo yung amo mo na presidente and let it come out of his mouth that all elected officials should undergo a hair follicle drug test.
Now, the fight schedule for Sunday is in doubt. One thing's for sure, it won't be at Araneta as someone else already booked it. But that's not a problem. There's already a boxing ring at the Rizal Memorial Coliseum. Even a famous casino hotel offered its ballroom. Now there's a venue. And apparently, there's also a referee as well.
Nagvo-volunteer ako na maging referee because I am worried that General Torre might inflict a catastrophic injury on Baste. Dahil yan si General Torre, astig yan.
When asked about the boxing match, Malacanang had this to say.
Kung matuloy man, good luck.
Let's discuss this issue further with Presidential Advisor for Poverty Alleviation and future boxing referee, Attorney Larry Gadon. Sir, thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us
Thank you
again.
for joining
Yes,
us.
good morning, Angelo and Angela. Magandang umaga sa inyo.
First
Kahit may bagyo.
Yeah, oo. I'd like to ask, of course, the Baguio was in the headlines, but another issue came, itong boxing supposedly challenge between Baste and General Torre, no? And nag-volunteer po kayo mag-referee. Ba't nyo na po naisipan mag-volunteer?
Alam mo kasi, yan si General Torre, ano yan, napakalakas yan kahit nasabihin mo na siya ay 55 years old na. Na maganda pa ang katawan niyan. Tsaka merong mga iniinom yun ng mga energy drink na talagang nagpapalakas sa kanya. Kasi kilala ko yun, kaibigan ko yan eh. Kaya ako nagwo-worry na baka masobrahan niya ng bugbog si Baste. At hindi naman tama, hindi naman dapat na magkaroon talaga ng serious physical injury dyan sa bout na yan. Kundi, kasi ako, at saka kahit si General Torre, he looks at this as a fundraising event lang. And then, hindi naman talaga yung seryosong boxing. Mukha naman hindi naman natutuloy dahil na nag-impose si Mayor Baste ng isang impossible condition requiring all the elected officials to undergo hindi mo naman pwede pilitin yung mga yan.
Oo. Nakikita nga kita, sir, nung pinapakita namin yung report na nagsasalita si Acting Mayor Baste about yung condition niya na mag-hair follicle test sa mga elected officials, especially si President Bongbong Marcos. Medyo nangingiti-ngiti po kayo dyan sa gilid
Oo. Kasi nga, impossible condition naman yan. Unang-una, we cannot invade the privacy of these public officials. More so that they were elected. Sasabihin sa amin yan, at kahit presidente ka ng Pilipinas, hindi mo kami pwede utusan na magpa-drug test dahil it's a violation of their privacy, violation of human rights yun. So, impossible talaga yung condition. So, halata na hindi naman talaga seryoso itong si Mayor Baste na ituloy yung kanyang paghamon. Tinanggap nga agad ni General Torre. Ang tawag ko dyan kay General Torre, General Astig yan. Kaya hindi yan uurok sa mga hamon-hamon na ganyan.
Yan ang gusto ko tanongin, Sec. Well, most of us know his history, but others hindi. Kasi sundalo din yan and he was part of the PNP boxing team. No? But you said General Torre might get carried away. For all those that don't know him, what do you mean po by that na he might get carried away?
Baka kasi siyempre pag nandun ka na sa ring, baka makalimutan mo na yung pagiging gentleman mo at ang magiging ang instinct doon ng boxer is to inflict damage to your opponent. Baka mamaya makalimutan niya na this is just a sport na tinanggap lang niya yung pag-aamon. Baka naman masaktan niya ng gusto si Baste. Kaya sabi ko, he might get carried away. Instinct yan pag nandiyan ka sa ring.
So, ibig sabihin po, it's safe to say na talagang mas kampi po kayo kay PNP Chief Torre dito sa match na ito. Tama po ba?
Yes, kampi ako. Unang-una, kaibigan ko yan. At saka siya nasa tamang lugar At ang naghamon naman ay si Mayor Baste. Walang kabog-kabog, basta na lang siya naghamon. Di siyempre, ito naman si General Torre. Hindi mo naman niya pwedeng sabihin na duwag sa isang hamon. Kaya, tinanggap niya yung hamon. Ang kagandahan dito ay naisipan niya agad to turn that boxing match into a positive event. Magkaroon ng fundraising para maibigay natin doon sa mga kababayan natin na nasalanta ng bagyo at baha. Tama naman yun.
I wanted to ask, Sec, madaming may agang-agam kasi sa ibang mga sektor na sinasabi. Baka naman sa future, not only sa pagka-mayor or kaya sa general, pag nagkainitan daw mga senador or congressman, baka lagi na lang ang recourse na lang, mag-boxing na lang.
Yun pa nga. Una-una, hindi naman si Mayor, hindi naman si General Nick Torre nag-start.
Yes.
Sino ba nagamon? Di siyempre, if that will become a president and if that will become a trend, ang nag-umpisa niyan ay Duterte. Hindi ang hindi si General Torre.
Pero in-expect nyo na po ba yun na siya po yung naghamon pero hindi naman po matutuloy?
Well, hindi ko in-expect na gano'n dahil ba't ka naman maghahamon kung hindi mo pala gagawin? Eh di nagyayabang ka lang. Eh ngayon, kung lalo pa mag-i-impose ka ng mga impossible conditions, kagaya nun, to subject all the elected officials under the BBM administration to undergo their follicle drug test, eh talaga imposible yun. Eh kung halimbawa, ang mga kondisyon na binigay niya, eh halimbawa yung something which is possible or doable, like for example, General Torre will use a lighter glove.
That's right.
At kay Basti, pwede pa yung mga ganon na halimbawa may advantage yung mga partida na tinatawag, pero yung ganon, mga impossible conditions. Doon mo makikita na talagang hindi naman talaga seryoso.
Before we move on to another topic, Sec, I'd like to ask, given na, of course, hindi pa natin alam officially kung sisipot si Mayor Baste, ano po mangyayari sa Sunday? May contingent ba doon? Will General Torre go to the venue at mag-aantay? And in the meantime, tuloy pa rin po ba ang yung donation drive?
Well, actually, just a while ago, I issued another video statement which will be released to the media and to General Torre himself. I will send it to himself. I am suggesting to him and advising him not to proceed with the boxing match anymore. Kasi wala na rin kapupuntahan dahil yung condition impossible
Yeah.
Kaya sinabihan ko na lang siya dito sa video na nilabas ko na huwag kalimutan na niya yan and to stop pursuing about these things kasi talaga malabo na. Hindi naman magagawa yung condition.
Right. Siguro before we move forward nga po sa another topic, last question lang, I would like to get your comment on the latest remark nga po or statement ni Baste Duterte saying na matagal na niyang gusto mambungbog ng unggoy. Your comment on that?
Nagpapakita lamang naman yun ang kanyang karakter na siya ay mapanghusga, mapangapi at mapanglibak ng tao. Hindi niya dapat nililibak ang isang high government official na kagaya ni General Nick Torre. Na ganyan parang sinasabihan niya na unggoy si General Torre. Hindi, napakatigas niyan. Napaka-gentleman niya. Ang tawag ko nga dyan General Astig Kasi talagang seryoso sa trabaho.
Let's move on to another topic. Sir, kayo po ay nasa ang opisina ng Poverty Alleviation Program right now. Ang dami po natin mga kababayan ngayon ang nasa evacuation center. Matindi po ang epekto ng bagyo at habagat sa kanila. What programs are we doing for them right now?
Well, maraming progress na ginagawa naman ng gobyerno dyan. In fact, before pa magkaroon ng talagang actual calamity, ay nakaprepare naman ang gobyerno sa mga food packs, sa mga medicine packs. And with the help also of the private sector and the LGUs, mas maganda naman yung response ngayon sa mga calamities. Ang kagandahan pa nito ay wala kang maririnig na masyadong naging mga namatay. We have to consider also na even the rich countries like Texas, nung binaha sila ng katakot-takot, more than 100 yung namatay sa kanila. Sa atin nga, wala. Things like this, talagang hindi mo
meron po sa atin, sir, 19 casualties so far.
Oo. Doon nga sa Texas, biro mo, yaman-yaman ng state na yan. They are part of the United States of America. And yet, despite all their efforts and all the resources, more than 100 yung casualties nila. Dahil sobrang talaga rin yung baha. And we all know that this is part of the result of the climate change. Talagang ibang klase yung mga bagyo at baha ngayon.
Yes.
Sir,
ibang klase.
Ang nagiging issue, Sec, also is with regards to yung housing po ng mga less fortunate na kababayan natin na nakapirmi po sa mga areas na hindi dapat pirmihan. No, sinasabi nga nila, pag palapit na daw ng election season, nandun sila sa danger zones. Tapos pagtapos na daw ang halalan, umaalis sila dahil tapos na daw bumoto. Ano po ang recommendation nyo, if ever, no, kay President Marcos on how to finally give these people proper homes?
Ang recommendation ko dito, not only to President Marcos, but also to the LGUs, lalo na yung mga disaster-prone areas, na magtayo sila ng mga temporary shelters. Yung permanent temporary shelters, permanent in the sense na nandyan na talaga. Hindi yung kung kailan may bagyo, dadalhin mo sila sa school, sa plaza. Di syempre, very uncomfortable doon. Biruin mo, sa isang plaza, 2, 3 lang ang CR. O sa isang school, 2 CR, 3 CR. Wala pang mga cooking facilities dyan. So, ang maganda dito, kagaya ng ginawa ni President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo doon sa Pampanga, nagkaroon sila ng permanent relocation center. Basta merong bagyo, ay doon nila dinadala yung mga tao. And then after na mawala yung baha, pinapabalik na yung mga tao doon sa kanilang mga sariling tahanan. When it comes to housing naman, ay kamakailan lamang ay nag-announce ang gobyerno under President Bongbong Marcos na itong Pag-ibig Fund, which has an accumulated funds of around 1.1 trillion pesos, ay hindi na sila ngayon basta na lang mag-extend ng loans sa mga members, kundi they will also go into developments. In fact, meron na silang mga 500 na mga developers na accredit, na ang mangyayari ngayon, meron nang in-announce ni Presidente Bongbong Marcos ito sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon, ay bigay ng sovereign guarantee ang ating estado, ang gobyerno, na yung mga developers na nakapagtayo ng mga housing projects na sigon or naaayon doon sa mga specifications and requirements, sila ay babayaran ng gobyerno ng Pag-ibig Fund. Sila ay binibigyan ng guarantee or sovereign guarantee. Wala ito dati. Kaya dati, ang mga miyembro na gusto magkaroon ng bahay ay mag-a-apply muna, at kapag yung mga developers, kung meron lang silang available na units, doon lang sila magkakaroon ng pagkakataon na mag-apply. Ngayon, hindi na. Ang Pag-ibig Fund mismo ay nakipag-ugnayan at magpagtulungan at nakipag-coordinate sa mga developers para magbigay ng developmental loans. So ngayon, may pondo na sila magagamit na magpatayo ng bahay. And then, tsaka nila babayaran ng Pag-ibig kapag ang mga bahay ay na-take over na ng mga applicants.
That's good
Sorry,
to hear.
sorry to cut you there, sir. Marami pa po kaming gustong itanong sa inyo, but unfortunately, we don't have much time. Hopefully, we can still have you next week. Maraming salamat po.
By the way, thanks for having me. No? At maganda palagi nagiging usapan natin dito.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Secretary Larry Gadon.
All right, Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs, Frederick Goss, says the 19% tariff imposed on Philippine exports to the United States is a universal rate. Go noted that this is the second lowest tariff in Asia, next only to Singapore's 10%. He also emphasized that the Philippines trade agreement with the U.S. includes exclusions on key agricultural products in a bid to protect local farmers and fishers. In comparison, Vietnam accepted a 20% tariff, while Indonesia agreed to 19%, fully opening their markets to U.S. products without restrictions.
Bakit po ito importante? Importante ito dahil kapag mababa ang ating tarifa, makaka-attract po tayo ng mga foreign direct investors in the Philippines para magtayo ng mga pabrika, magtayo ng mga negosyo sa Pilipinas para makapag-export ng kanilang mga produkto sa Amerika.
Former U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, Harry Thomas Jr., commented that the trade deal secured by President Marcos might be the best possible under the circumstances. However, he warned that it could have long-term negative implications for the Philippine economy.
The apparel and agricultural industry is the most at risk. Buyers look for the cheapest prices they can get anywhere in the world. It's very integrated where they can get products from. And we've already seen in June a rise in prices in the United States on apparel. So that may cause American importers to look for other markets.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Face-to-face classes have been suspended for a week now in thousands of schools across the country due to rains from the southwest monsoon and other weather systems. As of July 23, over 24,000 schools in 16 regions have halted in-person learning, the longest series of suspensions since the academic year began in June. In flood-hit areas, including Metro Manila, more than 100 schools are currently serving as evacuation centers. To minimize disruption, some school divisions have shifted to blended or modular learning setups.
Now let's get more insight into how the ongoing class suspensions are affecting the learning of students. We're joined by PBED Executive Director Hannibal Camua. Good morning and thanks for joining us again, sir.
Good morning, Sir Angelo and Ma'am Angela. Maraming salamat po for having me in your program again.
Of course, given our situation right now, 1 week po no, na hindi nakapasok ang ating mga estudyante dahil nga po dito sa typhoon and habagat. Ano po ba yung nakikita natin na prolonged disruption na epekto sa estudyante po natin pagdating po sa kanilang performance sa paaralan?
Well, may pag-aaral po dyan yung EDCOM at kami po ay sumasang-ayon po doon. Ang EDCOM 2 may pag-aaral na sa bawat araw ng classes na missed due to suspension ay ang kaakibat po niyan na parang learning loss ay almost half a month just in terms of arithmetic and also mathematics, numeracy, literacy. So malaking kawalan po yan. Kung titingnan po natin just this week, no, halos buong whole week na may mga suspension of classes in affected areas. While of course we acknowledge that safety of the learners and also the teachers and also working personnel of the DepEd is the priority, and that's why merong mga measures that are actually also implemented by some schools, katulad po ng modular learning, blended learning, and that's actually good. While there are some schools po na very quick, agile, and flexible to implement those different modalities para po hindi po magkaroon ng malaking impact on learning continuity, makikita po natin that there are also some schools and education institutions na wala pong kakayanan at hindi po capacitated to do those blended learning, to do those modular learning. So baka kailangan pa pong i-mainstream yung ganong klaseng alternative delivery systems in times like this.
Do you have any data, sir, now with regards to are we still within the number of minimum class days required? Kasi if not, do you recommend na if ever malapit na tayo sa threshold, mag-Saturday classes?
Actually, sir, that is, kung titingnan natin yung datos from last year, 2024, around 35 or 34, if I'm not mistaken, missed on average, missed class days. And in a school year, basically roughly around 200, naglalaro po sa 200 on the average yung number of class days na required by DepEd. This school year po, it's around 197. So if we are going to put some percentage on it, just from experience from last year, which nagkaroon ng suspension for roughly around 34 class days, and you divide that to 197 na required or mandated ng DepEd on the number of required nga na school days, that's roughly 17% already of the required class days na lost. So I think it falls onto, of course, our Department of Education and the school heads, particularly at the school level. Kasi school level management po yan, sir, kung titingnan po natin. So, it falls upon them to implement, of course, make-up classes or let's say catch-up mechanisms. But from my end, particularly from us sa PBED, kailangan po ng ganyan. Kailangan po ng mga make-up classes, kailangan po ng mga catch-up mechanisms because we could not afford to have prolonged suspension of classes, and nagsasuffer po talaga yung learning outcomes kung ang learning continuity ay naiistorbo ng dahil po sa mga ganitong pagkakataon at ganitong circumstances.
Mr. Camo, I was wondering, aside from academics, are we also looking at the negative psychosocial effect of this situation that we are in right now, especially with the students, yung mga nasa evacuation centers, yung mga namatayan dahil nabaha or na-aksidente dahil dito sa malalakas na mga pag-ulan. And what are we doing to address that?
Definitely, ma'am. I technically, on the issue of schools being used as evacuation centers, we don't need to look far. From our experiences from Typhoon Yolanda, way back almost more than 10 years ago, did result into a landmark legislation, the Republic Act 10821, or the Children's Emergency Relief and Protection Act, which mandates po na dapat lessen yung paggamit ng eskwelahan bilang evacuation center. Minamandato din po nung batas na yon na dapat kapag nagkaroon ng ganitong mga kalamidad, ay automatic po na magtatayo at magtatatag yung ating mga local government units ng mga child-friendly spaces at mga temporary classrooms to ensure learning continuity. Now, I would focus on child learning spaces kasi doon po yung interventions na kapag nagkaroon po, let's say, ng ganitong kalamidad, dapat may interventions po para sa mga bata kung paano po nila i-process itong mga experiences po nila. Especially po sa mga younger ones, these kinds of experiences may lead to, let's say, may trauma or may impact sa kanila. So, kailangan ma-process po yan at dyan po yan sa mga child-friendly spaces kailangan gawin.
Kasi ang hirap din naman na hindi sila makapag-focus doon sa learning nila sa schools because they're thinking about wala kaming bahay, wala kaming susuotin, wala kaming baon, hindi kami makakain, right?
Exactly po, ma'am. Exactly. So that's part actually of what I think it's just in terms of agency responsible for doing that. Nasa mandato po yan ng DSWD, especially ng kanilang Disaster Relief and Management Bureau, na kapag naitatag po itong mga child-friendly spaces at itong mga temporary classrooms, yung intervention po para matugunan yung pangangailangang psychological ng ating mga learners at ng ating mga kabataan ay mapunan po, para ma-process po nila ng tama itong experiences nila sa mga emergencies and disasters.
Well, definitely we have a lot of problems na nakikita dito sa education sector that we need to address to, and marami pa po tayong dapat pag-usapan, but unfortunately we don't have much time. We hope to see you again next week. But for the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Thank you for your insights, PBED Executive Director Hannibal Camua.
Maraming salamat.
Now let's head over. Okay, so yun yung effect kasi ng ng bagyo, 'di ba, ng baha sa mga estudyante na while we understand na marami talaga silang, they really need to catch up on academics, but they really need to focus also dun sa psychosocial effects nito sa mga bata. Dahil mahirap mag-focus sa pag-aaral kung may iniisip kang iba.
But definitely this was one, I don't know what word to use, one of the most difficult weeks our nation has been experiencing in the last decade or so. Madaming delugyo dumating, but also this one kasi tuloy-tuloy, non-stop. But rest assured that our prayers are out there for all our kababayans, and that we here at One News will always try to do our best to provide you the most relevant information when you need it, and hopefully makatulong sa mga kababayan natin to discern whether or not they should make decisions with regards to their safety. Oo, but we'd like to thank everyone for staying tuned and to us here, News and Views, and also One News as a whole. And may ano ka ba? Mensahe?
Wala naman. Just dun sa mga gustong tumulong, Alagang Kapatid Foundation, check na lang po nila sa social media ng TV5, News 5, One News at saka 1PH yung detalye ng Alagang Kapatid Foundation, paano makapag-donate doon.
And
meantime, keep safe.
Yeah, keep safe. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again on Monday. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
Stay tuned pala for Monday. We have special coverage for the State of the Nation address of President Bongbong Marcos. All sides, all the time.